Thank you so much, Owen. Ko Pagman Timanga, ko Kabul te awa, no afakinetana aho, ko Usman Afzali toku ingwa, he pokinga o ki te matai wairu ataka, Otago whakaihuaka. Tena koto, tena tato, katoa. I'm Usman Afzali. I'm originally from Afghanistan, and as Owen said, I work in the religion program as a lecturer. I teach psychology of religion, religion and human behavior, and also scientific study of religion. Now, why this title and why this talk? Why do I call it the human aspect of research or the human side of research? Let me start by asking a question. What comes to your mind by seeing this number? Any volunteers?
I wish I was that old.
Sorry?
I wish I was that old.
I couldn't hear you well, sorry.
I wish I was that old.
Oh, you wish you, okay, well, good guess. I'm 15 years older than this, 14 years. Any other guesses?
The number of days in 4 weeks?
That's a very good guess. But in my case, 28 means this is the number of talks I have given so far in 2025. That's above and beyond 3 papers that I have taught. So these 28 talks include workshops, invited talks, lectures, research talks, community talks, and panels. Now, all of these talks, or most of them, are based on my research and based on my findings, and everyone interested to know, oh, what does Muslim diversity study say about Muslims in New Zealand? But here, I thought I would do something different. So I talked with Owen, and I was like, and he told me that we will have in our audience some graduate-level researchers and perhaps also aspiring researchers. So I just wanted to talk about 2 reflections, 2 aspects of research. One of them that I had to learn from the hard way, and another one that if I'm having fun doing research or not. So it's totally different from all the research presentations, but I'm hoping that it will be fun. I'm doing it for the first time, so let's see how it goes. I'll start by talking about where I come from. So I was born in Afghanistan. I grew up in a refugee camp in a neighboring country. And this is literally where I lived. This is the street. This is our home, or our house door, if you can call it that. I went to school in the refugee camp. These are a couple of photos from the school and from the street. This person sitting in the front, that's me doing my geometry paper. And then I went on to train as a GP in Afghanistan in 2001. And as you can see from the photos, I might be having fun in the medical school. The reason for that was because training is free in Afghanistan if you want to become a GP, or any study, in fact. Accommodation and food is free too. But there are some caveats. I will only mention 2 of them that are relevant here. The first thing is that the standard of our training does not match that of New Zealand standard. And this is why I was not able to register as a GP in New Zealand. And I had to retrain at the University of Canterbury in psychology. I did an undergraduate, an honors, and a PhD, which finished in 2022. So my GP degree was in Sheikh Zayed University in a southern province of Afghanistan. So later on, another important thing about our training in Afghanistan is that we don't train in research. Now, I don't know how that happened, but I think due to war, since 1980s, the curriculum in Afghanistan has not got updated or upgraded. So we don't train in research. We don't even know what research is. I had no idea about how research takes place, how we do it, why we do it, before coming to UC. So under the name of research, the best students translate what we call monographs from Western textbooks. So these are not your standard 30,000 words or 50,000 words. They are just 30 or maximum 30 pages handwritten translations. That is the best. Like that is I think I did the best because it was evaluated the best. But it is not original research, and the tricky part is the RIST will use someone else's monograph from another year, another university, because they don't go electronic. So you can basically get your friend's monograph from last year and then use that next year. So that was what research was for me back home. And here is, so my research experience before the University of Canterbury was that limited. And the name of research, that's what we used to do. Now, this is a snippet, or it's a screenshot from a Facebook page, which shows monographs on sale. This text at the top, this line, it's in Farsi. It's from a print shop. It literally means ready-made monographs available. So you basically can go and buy a monograph for yourself, and you use it, to finish medical degree or engineering or whatever degree needs a monograph. Now, over a decade later, I'm doing my PhD at University of Canterbury. And I'm training in cognitive psychology. My research was on memory suppression, trying to see if we can actively suppress unwanted memories or not. In addition to that, I was also working in an area which is called forensic neuroscience. In that one, I was trying to use EEG or ERP signals, which is called brain fingerprinting, to ascertain the position of crime-related information in a subject's brain. Quite a step up from 10 years ago, but that is not the point. Second year of my PhD, post first COVID lockdown, 2020, while the research was delayed by a couple of months already, due to a series of conspiracies, I must say, deliberately formulated by a group of my peers. I'm saying peers because they're postgraduate students. My data collection was delayed for 8 months. I had to make a formal complaint, of course, after those issues, got to the bottom of the issue, and re-strategized data collection. That moved me to 2021. And I only have now 1 year to finish my dissertation, finish my PhD, and submit it. Now, losing that much time, you all know, during PhD is not healthy, to put it lightly. Now, the focus is not on the trouble or who did it, though. That's not a concern. It's about what I learned from it. So because of 8 months delay, one thing that a few weeks later, I was discussing with the head of school, who was extremely supportive. And we got to the bottom of it, and he was telling me, what did I think about the whole process? And he was like, I told him, I said, my understanding is that you might plan your project meticulously for months. And while you were low due to COVID and lockdowns, you might face another blow. So be prepared. That was my first thing to learn from it. Put it another way, you have to be solution-oriented. Of course, it was upsetting, it's stressful and all that. You're doing a PhD, you're on a scholarship, you only have a limited time frame to submit. You can stress about it, but also you want to see how you can fix it, what you can do, how you can re-strategize. So that was my first learning point. I worked on this for a year and a half. I cannot do it now. I have to do it another way, and that's fine. That happens during research. That was my first learning point. And I say this to other researchers, to a lot of PhD or masters or any research aspirants, that everything might not go according to what you want it to go. So be prepared for that. The second thing I learned hard way was sometimes it might not be healthy to share your work, your plans, your progress with everyone. Now, it might sound a bit negative. I'm sorry for that. But we might be surrounded by people who see their success in our failures. And that's the reality of academia. It's not only limited to New Zealand. It's not only limited because you come from a different background. I was not an international student. I was a local student. It might not be limited to which country you are in or which country you come from. It might happen everywhere in any department, in psychology, in other departments. In fact, for the past couple of years, I'm trying to help some other students who are facing similar struggles in Canterbury and other places. But that is, so that is there. And the third point I learned, this is very important in my opinion, and I say this to a lot of international and local students is that is know your rights. Don't be intimidated only because someone tried to bring you down or conspire. If you have followed the due process and procedures of institutions, don't worry about people's accusations. Oh, your research is, your research has ethical issues or this and that. That was what accusation on my paper, on my work was. More importantly, stand up for yourself. If you have paid a fees to institution or you got a scholarship, you still have rights. And that's very important. A lot of graduate students don't realize that, especially if the only point of contact from overseas was your supervisor and co-supervisor. That's the only two people you know. So you're too scared to perhaps complain or go against them. I'm not telling anybody to go against their supervisors. What I'm trying to say is that know that there are other places in institutions where you can actually make a formal complaint and they will get to the bottom of it. Don't be scared that, oh, I will be out of my PhD or master's or so on, or I might not be able to make a complaint. That is something that a lot of people are afraid of. And I time and again say that you should not worry about that. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to nurture a network of mentors that you can depend upon. And I'm thankful that I had so many of that. I think my advantage was because I was at Canterbury for a few years already, I knew a lot of other people. And my supervisors were at my side. The issue was procedural. Anyways, we leave this there. I call it conspiracy because it actually backfired at the people who made the accusation, and it went on to become an example, but that's not the point. The point I wanted to share here was that I did finish my PhD still in 3 years, and also published all that in journals as of now. So that was a learning experience I had early in my career, which was quite eye-opening. The next research focus is from 2019 onwards, when I got involved with the New Zealand Attitudes and Values Study. Now, for those of you who do not know, it is a longitudinal social psychology survey-based study by Chris Sibley in Auckland, and it has we have a lot of peers and collaborators across New Zealand in many universities. So I was at Canterbury when I got involved in this research. And after 15 March Christchurch shootings, when I was in Christchurch myself, I living in that community, my primary focus was on anti-Muslim prejudice and Islamophobia. So I kept authoring and co-authoring papers with the NZAVS team. Now, as a result of this, I kept authoring and co-authoring papers in areas of experimental psychology, neuroscience, social and socio-political psychology, psychology of religion, and eventually human flourishing. In my postdoc, I established Muslim Diversity Study, which functions as a booster to the New Zealand Attitudes and Values Study, and it tries to recruit Muslims to participate in our research because the sample of Muslims in NZAVS was low, so we had to target Muslims further to get their data. It was a massive community need after March 15 attacks, and we started it after consulting with the community. The study aims to investigate Muslims' experiences, needs, well-being, attitudes, values, to name a few. We launched the project in 6 cities across New Zealand: Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, Palmerston North, Christchurch, Dunedin. Did I miss? Yeah, Wellington. Yeah. So 6 cities which had more than 1,000 Muslim according to 2018 census. We advertised for the project, and I received more than 90 applications. Now, during my research assistant interviews, I came across so many applicants who said that they do not want to associate with the project for money. They don't want to do it for money. A lot of these candidates were, of course, associated with the Muslim community. It was open call. Anyone who worked with the Muslim community, they could work with us. But a lot of them were young Muslim students in New Zealand universities. And they said they don't want to do it for money. They said it is needed for us to be part of a study like this. It's important for us to be part of it. It is promising to do what we have long been waiting for, And that was something I didn't realize was the case. And they said, we don't want to do it for the money. This is like an absolute majority of my research assistants who said this. Although we paid them off eventually, but their motivation was not money. Now, for me, it was very powerful to have such a response from the community. People want to work with you for free because they think a project like that was needed for a very long time in New Zealand. So as a part of Muslim diversity study, I'm not giving you a chronological order, I'm just picking some points. As a part of the study, we went to various New Zealand cities to recruit participants, and then we went back to share our findings with the community. So that has been happening since 2022. I go to different cities, I attend conferences, I give talks, sometimes alone, sometimes with my peers, and we share our findings with the community in New Zealand, in these 6 cities, actually 7 cities, and also overseas. Recently, I gave a couple of talks in Australia, in SASP conference, but also in the community. So, and these talks are very well received because people like to hear what we have found. And not surprisingly, experiences of Muslims in New Zealand and Australia are quite similar. So what we learned from these eventually is that when we give talks in the cities, community leaders and youth leaders at different cities, time and again they told us that they had no such data in the past. We were able to recruit 570-something new Muslims new participants to NZAVS, not new Muslims, new participants to NZAVS. So the sample size went from 50 to 70 to up to around 600 and something, 667, yeah. Now, they tell us that they have appreciated that a project is doing this type of work. And why it is important for community leaders, because they say, we go to government and we tell them, hey, we need help in this and that area, and they tell us, give us data. We didn't have data. Now, the Muslim Diversity Study is giving them those data, and that was something that the youth leaders and community leaders equally appreciated. So that was something else which was quite, and I didn't see that coming, but that happened as a result of the Muslim Diversity Study. Now, I need to acknowledge that our team is not the only team who is doing research on and with Muslims in New Zealand. But we are unique in the number of staff members I had. I had more than 30 research assistants at the peak time of data collection. And our reach was also broad. We reached 36 cities in New Zealand. Our focus was on socio-political psychology of a stigmatized religious group, which was, again, important. So that was the second highlight that I wanted to share. The third highlight was, now it is the second year of data collection. We want to go to participants and ask them to participate again. To collect data from our participants in the second year of the project, we are making phone calls. Me and one of my research assistants were making phone calls to our participants to see if they want to participate again. And so many of them tell us that they are very happy for us doing this work. So it was not only research assistants, it is also community members who we call to participate. Now think about it this way. I'm calling you to participate again, and you are not only promising to complete it, but also are thanking me for leading this work. That was very important, that community also acknowledges the need for a project like this, and they see the value in it. So this project helped me, in a sense, to bring and train many aspiring researchers from the Muslim community, and also work with and learn from some of my peers and some of my seniors who were kind enough to collaborate with me. The end product, in my opinion, was powerful. I found myself and my project in the middle of some senior and many aspiring researchers, where the project kind of brought them together. When you think about this in the hindsight, I did not know this many researchers of humanities and social sciences in the community, and the Muslim community widely, but I also have research assistants and collaborators who are not from the Muslim community, but they are keen to work in these areas. And you will identify some of them from the slides. So I did not know this many people 6 years ago, especially after Christchurch shootings. It has been a massive privilege to be able to work and collaborate with so many and be able to lead a project that trained many such researchers. Some of these have published with me for the first ever time, and others are currently writing. And if you notice, there's another thing, if you notice closely, many of these are Muslim women. That, again, I did not notice at the beginning, but this is also a massive gain for the project, because we had a lot of Muslim wahine who wanted to work with us and be part of the project. And it's also historically important to me because I'm from Afghanistan, and currently women cannot go to schools in Afghanistan. They cannot go to university. My nieces cannot go to school anymore. So it's kind of that type of a moment that I really appreciate. So I have been inspired by these associations and feel quite privileged to be in a position like this. But that was also important to me to bring these collections and colleagues together. Just not the project might end. So we established what we call Muslim Early Career Researchers Aotearoa. It was established a couple of months ago, and it is at the forefront of some of the amazing work in terms of collaboration and working with the community, bringing community researchers, Muslim researchers from across universities together to be part of. And I am a co-founder of this. It is not officiated yet, but it's in the process of it. At least we have a logo, which is good. So I also need to acknowledge that I look like I'm at the forefront of Muslim diversity study, but I'm just part of a team. I showed you my amazing collaborators earlier, and this is the core team. So I have Professor Joseph Bulbulia, who was my postdoc advisor, and he's at Wellington University, as you would all know. Chris is at Auckland, and he's the lead of New Zealand Attitudes and Values Study. Many of you would know Kumar by his reputation. He is a social psychology scientist, social scientist at Canterbury, and Arif is a lawyer. He is in Auckland, and he was the one actually who started working with NZAVS ahead of me. So I appreciate him for bringing me to the fold of the project. Now, another thing I also wanted to socially touch on was why I did my postdoc in, if you can call it social psychology, although it was different aspects. Now, in 2019, I was doing a PhD in cognitive psychology and neuroscience. But when the Christchurch shootings happened, I found myself in a position where I wanted to do something. I think I kept my sanity by working with NZAVS and by leading the Muslim diversity study, because I was trying to find solutions for Muslim issues and practically became part of solution, although it's a small part of solution, but that was useful, and for me that was more important. Otherwise, it would have been so difficult. It still is so difficult to cope with the loss of 14 friends in Christchurch shootings. I had 14 friends among the victims of the Christchurch shootings. On a final note, creating that network was not only enough. We also wanted to put the network into good use. The idea was to put it, to do something with the network and with the collaborators we created, or we had the honor of working with. So simultaneously, I also found like-minded Muslim academics, and we co-organized the first ever academic conference for Muslims in New Zealand. It was a place where a lot of Muslim researchers from across New Zealand, they came in and were part of it. A lot of them told us that they found, they felt safe, they felt at home to be part of that conference. It took place earlier this year in May in Wellington. We attracted more than 30 presenters and 150 plus attendees. I was privileged to be a co-organizer of this conference. It was, in my opinion, I think a massive success, and we received a lot of positive feedback. By the way, the second conference of this series will take place next year here at Otago. So watch the space. Now, when I think about it generally, I'm just trying to focus and bring together some of the points I mentioned. When people say they don't do it for money, when aspiring or candidate research assistant, they don't want to do it for money. That was because they thought the project was representing community voice. And that was important to me, to be at the forefront of a project like this. When the community leaders say that they didn't have data, now they can use those data for policy and advocacy purposes. And that is very meaningful to me, to be able to provide some data that could be used for policy and advocacy in New Zealand. When people say that they are thankful to us, to our team for doing this, we think that that is working towards representation. The community was underrepresented as research participants as well as researchers. Now, we kind of achieved that with the project. Working with this many aspiring researchers, seniors, and academics, and also establishing a network, that helped, that put the project, not me necessarily, but the project in the middle of training, empowerment, and opportunities for aspiring researchers and those who want to publish, but they didn't get a chance. And also I don't think I moved to social psychology, I still do cognitive psychology, but working in social psychology and also, for example, being part of initiating a conference and stuff, that was, for me, it was countering the victim mindset, because sometimes what happens is with initiatives like this, when Christchurch shooting or something like it happens, it is very easy to get the victim mindset, and it's like, oh, I have been wronged, help me with this, do that for me, do this, but which will be fine. But if I'm in a position where I can make a difference, be it small, I would rather do that. And to me, that was very, very important. So I'm excited to have worked in more than one sub-disciplines of psychology. But it can also be problematic. You all know that. When I apply for a cognitive psychology position, for example, my job is fixed term, by the way, in the religion program. So I might be perceived as a psychology of religion lecturer. Or if I apply for a social psychology position, then hey, your PhD is in cognitive psychology. How can you work in social psychology? So that kind of make me a jack of all trades and a master of none. But I cannot not do this. This is what I will be doing. Perhaps 1 in 100,000 people from background like mine, refugee from Afghanistan, get an opportunity to do a PhD in psychology in one of the leading universities of New Zealand, Canterbury. I'm talking about Canterbury. Otago is very good too. I'm just saying this because I did my PhD at Canterbury. And even fewer secure postdoc funding. So for me, it was, I want to make the most of my experience. And if I have to move to different sub-disciplines and work with different people, I enjoy doing that. I found research something that I wanted to do in back of I did not know what it was. And when I got to train as a researcher, I just enjoyed doing, and I'm still enjoying doing different sub-disciplines in psychology. Now, also there is another reality that the total number of Afghans with a PhD in psychology globally is, can anyone guess? You know it, Navdeep. It's less than 5. I only know 2 other people from Afghanistan with a PhD in psychology, and I have been looking for that for the past 5 years. So I'm okay to expedite here and there. That's okay with me. So here's another fact. When I initially thought of studying in New Zealand, I was discouraged to go to a university because as I might fail. English is my 3rd language, and I might not be able to do it. So that gives me another reason to make the most of what I have. Because thinking from when I started my undergraduate degree in psychology at Canterbury in 2015, fast forward 11 years, today I stand in front of you as a lecturer at Otago University, reporting on the social impact of Muslim diversity study on Muslims' lives in New Zealand and perhaps globally, and sharing with you that despite a massive physical and mental exhaustion, my friends know that, this work, this research, this Mahi altogether keeps me satisfied. It keeps me inspired. It makes me flourish. It makes me feel good. It keeps me going. So yes, in conclusion, when I think about the title of the talk, the human side of research, I presented two aspects, a partly negative experience and what I learned from it. But let's leave that aside and talk about the positive experience of the postdoctoral work and current work. The way others assess the work that we do, as I shared some quotes and some reports with you, if your work brings people together, leads to social impact, or can potentially influence policy, or you can use it to empower others, and if it eventually becomes the voice of a voiceless and underrepresented community, according to the community itself, it can be energizing. It can be energizing for the researchers, for the teams who are part of it, those who lead it, and those who benefit from it. It can be satisfying, and I think it is totally worthwhile. Done with the right people and with the right intentions, I think research can enhance our self-esteem, and it can make us happy and make us useful members of a society. I thank institutions and groups who I worked with, who funded us, who I currently have collaborators. I'm open to collaborations and also co-supervision if anything comes in social-political psychology or cognitive psychology. Here's my email address. I have a website also. And if you want to know about the project, you can just search up Muslim Diversity Study. You will be able to find a lot of our website and also some of our social media channels. That's me. Thank you so much.